Welcome to Not Factory Approved. Today's adventure, taking a speedometer that was rebuilt 4 years ago and finding out why it seized after sitting in storage. Before I put this car in storage, about 4 years ago, the speedometer was working. All serviced, clean, worked fine. Set it back to zero since I figured doing a total rebuild, let's claim it zero. And when I drove the car the other day, the speedometer didn't work. I found out why. It's seized. Cannot turn it for nothing, even with the pliers. So I've taken it out of the car, which is basically undoing these 3 screws, or nuts rather, and then it pulls out like that. I will put this on a semi-clean rag. Actually, it's a very dirty rag, but we'll do until I get a better one. So now I'm going to take this apart and find out why it's seized. What I did was to put some 3-in-1 oil in there and work it back and forth with the pliers, not stressing it, really not trying to bend anything or twist off anything. And then it's kind of a friction drive, right? The faster it goes, the more it moves this, which is attached to the needle for the speedometer. So I took, it has a couple of bars across, so I took 3-in-1 oil and dripped it down in there, and then allowed it to run in to the spindle, and then kept working it. Now it's almost, if I can move it by hand, so it's almost free enough. I think the grease just degraded. It's coming out black, which is kind of weird, but that's what happened. The adventure continues. So the plate inside appears to be detached from the cable. The needle spins fine, and I've got it freed up for the drive, but spinning that does not spin the magnetic plate. That's supposed to create some friction and drive the speedometer up the faster it goes. So the needle has to come off first. Do that with 2 screwdrivers. I've already loosened it, but that's the idea. Pry it up on both sides evenly. If you don't, this pin will bend, and then you've got a whole new set of problems. And these 2 screws come out, and that will allow me to access the drive. I have to clean everything, of course. I'll put it back together. Now, so this here moves with the needle, but that, you can see that stainless steel part in there, inside, that does not move. And it's supposed to. That is going to be fun. I really don't want to take those numbers out again, but looks like I have no choice. Okay, well, I will take them out. These clips here, and then they should just lift and pull out. Although I might have to remove this strap too. Those come up to there. Pull it off. Okay, this has got a loose shaft, so that's good. That will then come out this way. And I can't clear it. The numbers are going to be loose. That's not what I wanted. Well, there you go. No fun at all. Now, when these fall apart, it's lots of fun because that little gear has to go inside this plate. So that as it turns, as it's driven, one 0.1 and then 0.2, 0.3, etc. and on to the next in decades, that has to flip the next one. So these all have to line up and the gears have to be in position, which of course a bunch of them have. I'll be honest with you, don't like the way this is going. Can't get that out because of this keyway is rubbing up against the numbers. So I have to take this shaft out, and I really don't like that idea. I've already gotten into trouble with that. You're gonna have to repaint numbers, looks like. Don't like that idea either. Yay, here goes. Let's go up. I have a problem here. That has to come out first. Okay. Then this goes up and out. So the shaft should be loose. Brass piece is there. Don't touch it. Now this is stuck again with the drive, so push that up. Might be able to get it out. But it looks like I have to take these screws out too. This is all going to get really bad, I think. One. Two. Got a bit of a bevel on them, so they're unique. That comes off. So this wide plate here, wide end of the plate, covers the gear drive. Okay, and that comes out to lubricate that for sure. That's a bit stiff too. To lubricate that. How can I get this out of here? That's the question. Not like that. So if we do this, push as far as I can. Can't get that tab past. Can't get nothing past. There we go. That's got it. Oh yeah, that is stuck. Most annoying. Oh, there. So I've driven this shaft out. This is a bushing, and it normally sits flush. So I drove it out there, and then it pops out. Push it again, I guess. That's there. Now this is turning fairly freely, but it's still disconnected here. I don't know what I'm going to do about that, because this pin is what holds it in place. And it looks like it's meant to be drilled out to get it free. I could drill a small hole in there and put a screw in it, see if I can pull it out that way. I'm prying this up, and this looks like copper is collapsing, so it's a rivet of sorts. So I will continue to pry that get it free and see if I can get that shaft out, find out why it's disconnected. I think my old brain has learned something. I don't think this is supposed to be driven solidly. It's got enough friction there that will turn pretty quickly. So it seems to be turning just fine. And this was not a rivet. It's a piece of felt. They had a copper plug on there. So it's supposed to keep everything lubricated. So it seems to be working okay. I'll put this back in here and see if it drives properly. A little oil. Drop there. Another drop here. This end and that end. Plugged in there eventually. Let's see how much closer I can get to destroying this thing. So here's the speedometer drive. That's the drive for it. Now it turns nicely. It drives that gear underneath, which is for the odometer. So if I put this in to pull the trip odometer reset up, and you can put that there, and it goes into place. Now I put the screws on. Yes, it was these ones because they center it. Nope, no, it was not those ones. My chronic weakness shows again. That is for this part to center it. Now, where did they get to? See how much closer I can get to destroying this thing. So put that up. Oops, pull it, the whole works. There we go. Here's the screws for the speedometer drive. So this now turns nicely. It turns the odometer drive here underneath. That's working. Everything's turning nicely. Now I put this on. Put the odometer reset, trip odometer reset up. Put it in. Screws in. There's a small one, I guess, to start with. Can't tighten it with that, but get it in there. Okay. Moves a little bit. So I'm going to be careful with this. And we put the centering shaft in, or bracket. So we went over to the odometer drive and this other shaft to put in. Oil. Go. Now put the bracket on. So it has to center the needle, the speedometer, as well as hold the odometer odometer drive system in place. So now these go in to center it automatically, because they're screws with a taper on the head. Things have gotten worse. This drive usually has a square hole in it, and when the speedometer seized up, the cable first stripped that out, then it broke. So I'm going to have to go back to the other speedometer, which is of questionable condition, and see if I can make one speedometer out of two. Not what I had in mind, but just another surprise. So now I've put the trip odometer in. This is the old speedometer, and the numbers are looking kind of rough, which is not really what I want. So I might have to be painting that with a magnifying glass. Hopefully I can get some kind of color match. It's going to look real goofy. Anyway, the drive is in this one. It's not seized up. I will lubricate a few things. And it was hit and miss there for a bit. It looks like I got it together. I hope I don't have to take it apart again. Some jobs just go from bad to worse. The speedometer works. That part's all good. The main digits, there's just a couple of them that have marks on them, but they look pretty good. The odometer, however, is pretty rough. And I went through the clusters that I had to try and get some kind of decent numbers, and the decals are just falling apart. So I'm going to have to try and find new decals, or try and paint, but I think probably decals are the better way to go. We shall see. No need to plan ahead, just do it as it goes. A couple of things I should point out, just in case you're ever foolish enough to attempt a job like this. These tabs look like this. They have a slot in them, and there's this bracket that is welded onto the speedometer, and that lines up these. And inside each of these here are two slots, and those hold a gear like that, little tiny gear. If you look carefully, it has a wide side and a narrow side, and that has a particular way to go, so you have to make note of that when you take it apart. They also, these older ones that have a metal gear, also make use of a flat spring, and the flat spring, they have a different style of unit like this. So you can see the black piece there, that's actually a piece of spring metal that slides on. It's slotted, slides on, and then that holds this gear so that it meshes inside here. That one notch is the trip mechanism right there. It flips the digit over, and then this is where the gear runs. So this is allowed to turn on one side like that, and then the other side, once it hits that notch, engages the other gear and flips the next digit. But this one, as you can see, is pretty ugly, so I've got to do something with that, which is very annoying, slowing everything up. As I showed before, the numbers were falling apart, falling off this odometer, trip odometer. So I've just rubbed off the loose bits. I'm painting them black, and the tenths of a mile is white. Unfortunately, I've tried very hard to find rub-on letters. I found this one, which apparently has the numbers on it. You can see down there, a few of them. So I can try and rub those on to the white background, but I could not find any white ones. So I'm going to have to try and paint these. So I trust the magnifying glass and a fine paintbrush and black paint. Let's see what happens. Now to show you that the speedometer does indeed work, don't look closely at the trip odometer numbers. Those are hand painted. I'm not as steady as I used to be. So shift into drive. Unfortunately I have a problem where it won't shift out of first yet. According to my service manual, that means the likely cause is the governor is stuck, which means taking the side cover off the transmission. I haven't done that yet, but here goes. There we go. Oh yeah, new problem. Worked yesterday. Apparently it's rubbing. There's 10 miles an hour. Still won't shift, but settled down now. It's not flipping around like it did. But we still don't have shiftings of gears, and I was kind of hoping it would free up. Anyway, there you go. Into neutral and off.